A young boy walks into his classroom and sees a group of girls studying. The boy has social anxiety and doesn't do well interacting with girls. Being nervous, he tries to hurry up and collect his things and leave the classroom, but he ends up dropping his bag and some papers scatter on the floor. One of the girls picks up a piece of paper, and it's revealed that it's one of the manga drawings the boy made. Each of the girls start making fun of each of the manga pages they found, reciting them out loud in a mocking tone. After having their fill, all the girls but one decide to leave. The girl shares that she is a first-year student, or a kohai, and she asks the boy if he's a second-year student. He says yes, and the girl grins. "I guess that makes you my senpai." The girl then starts making fun of the manga senpai made. That's what we'll call our main character for now, senpai. The girl calls out senpai for creating a self-insert character, stating that both him and the main character he drew are pathetic. Continuing on, the girl wants to act out one of the scenes senpai drew, but since the girl doesn't have a sword, she just starts punching and kicking everywhere. Now it's senpai's turn to act out his part. He goes to caress the girl's hair and his hand is slapped away. The girl mocks him for thinking that a guy like him could do that. Only a good-looking guy can do that, not an ugly, disgusting guy like you. Senpai starts to get overwhelmed, flustered, and embarrassed. The girl, noticing this, keeps pushing and bullying senpai until he reaches his breaking point, and he starts to cry. The girl pulls out a handkerchief and wipes away his tears. She gives him the handkerchief and apologizes for bullying him and walks away. This is the plot to one of the stories that got me into manga, and its name is Don't Toy With Me, Miss Nagatoro-san. It could also be called Please Don't Bully Me, Miss Nagatoro-san. This manga has just completed its last chapter at the time of recording this, with its publication starting in 2017 and ending in 2024. So in honor of that, I've decided to make a 4-part series covering the manga. Each video will cover 5 volumes of the manga. Let me know down below if you guys prefer videos more like this, or one long video, like I did in my previous video about the Lady Knight. I also wanted to thank you guys really quick. Because of you guys, I can now gladly say I am monetized. Now my dream of being a YouTuber is getting closer day by day. So again, thank you guys for that. Also, don't forget to support the official creator and support the author any way you can. Link to the manga on Amazon in the description. Without further ado, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a video or a short I make. And let me know down below any suggestions you have and what manga I should cover next. Now, onto the video. Senpai is walking to the art club when he is approached by the girl from yesterday. Senpai returns the girl's handkerchief and tries to quickly get away from her. But to his dismay, the girl follows right behind him. Senpai tries to get the girl to leave, but the girl wants to make up to Senpai after what happened yesterday. So she offers to be his model, first offering to do some erotic poses, teasing Senpai, but eventually she settles on a regular normal pose. Some time passes and Senpai isn't able to draw anything, since he's never been able to observe or stare at a girl for a long period. Seeing this, the girl offers a reward for Senpai if he does a good job. Senpai is able to come up with a decent drawing and the girl gives him a reward. She first tells him to close his eyes. Senpai does so and then he gets flicked in the nose. She starts to bully him more since he can't draw a girl properly. Senpai tries to look away but the girl grabs him and overpowers Senpai, calling him weak. Senpai cries again and the girl tells Senpai to try harder next time to draw her properly. Senpai is walking home when the girl asks Senpai to go out with her, lying and joking with Senpai of course. The girl keeps teasing and bullying Senpai until she gives him a shove, pushing him to the ground. The girl apologizes since she didn't mean to take things that far. She asks if Senpai is going to get mad, since she treats him so badly. Senpai thinks to himself about how he has always been bullied. He then states, "I do get angry and annoyed, but I don't mind talking to you." The girl responds that it's gross the way Senpai refers to her as you. As a result, Senpai asks for the girl's name. The girl then writes her name out on Senpai's chest, and it's revealed that the girl's name is Nagatoro. Senpai is about to give his name when Nagatoro interrupts him, not caring about his name. Senpai is a fine name to call him. Senpai likes to practice drawing by using still life or inanimate objects. When Nagatoro comes in, calling him boring for what he draws, she offers to be his model again, and after some poking and prodding, Senpai agrees. But she has a trick up her sleeve. Nagatoro changes into her swimsuit in order to mess with Senpai more. As expected with Nagatoro's teasing, Senpai is still unable to draw a girl, and Nagatoro punishes Senpai for it. Senpai is in the art club room and he has the latest volume to one of his favorite mangas, when Nagatoro bursts in and sees him in a good mood. She notices his book and tries to take it from him. After a quick struggle, Nagatoro is successful and looks at the contents of Senpai's book. It's a pervy book with fan service actions, like the main character falling and accidentally groping a female's chest. That type of book. Nagatoro teases Senpai about how they could be in that scenario, but Senpai has had enough and tries to get the book back. They start to fight and Nagatoro ends up falling on top of him and accidentally grabbing, well, let's just say his sword. Nagatoro apologizes and calls Senpai lucky. They then start heading home and Nagatoro can't help but tease Senpai one more time before leaving. Nagatoro grabs Senpai's side and twists it, running away laughing. Nagatoro joins the lonely Senpai for lunch in the club room. He's having yakisoba. She asks if Senpai has seen the latest vampire movie that just came out. Senpai has seen it, but he doesn't do well with horror. Nagatoro describes the plot of the movie and reassures Senpai that he has nothing to worry about. No way a vampire would go after him because he's a virgin. But Senpai responds with, it's not like the vampire would know unless they bite the victim. Hearing this gives Nagatoro a sinister idea. Nagatoro sets her sights on Senpai. She wants to conduct a test to see if it's true or not. Plus, she has pretty sharp canines, so it shouldn't be a problem puncturing Senpai. Nagatoro lunges at Senpai and is now on top of him. Moving in for the kill, Nagatoro gets ready to bite Senpai, when suddenly she catches a whiff of Senpai's breath. It's garlic yakisoba. Nagatoro backs off and it turns out garlic is effective against vampires. Senpai is at a quiet restaurant that he likes in order to escape from Nagatoro and draw his manga in peace. But to his surprise, he sees Nagatoro walk in with a group of people. It appears that she is on a double date. Senpai observes how one of the guys is treating Nagatoro. He can see how bad the date is going. Clearly, Nagatoro isn't interested in that guy at all. Not his music taste or him making very forward advances. But for some reason, Nagatoro doesn't bully this guy. She doesn't bully him like she bullies Senpai. As he is walking home, Senpai thinks to himself, am I the only person Nagatoro treats this way? When Nagatoro greets him from behind and starts walking with him, Senpai tries to build up the courage to say something, but he gets too nervous and can't muster to say what he wants to. Senpai has oil painting materials on his hands and tries to wash it off. While he's doing this, Nagatoro joins in and starts to tease him, washing his hands with her hands like they are a couple, making it more awkward and sensual for hand washing. This interaction is too much for Senpai and he runs away. Senpai is waiting for Nagatoro, who seems to be running late, but he holds out since Nagatoro promised to be a model for him again. Nagatoro then comes into the club pushing a couch. She took it from the craft club since they didn't need it anymore. She wanted something more comfortable to pose in, so Senpai gets ready to draw her, but Nagatoro can't stay still and keeps trying to tease Senpai. After a while with nothing really happening, Nagatoro gets sleepy and plans on taking a nap on the couch, promising Senpai a reward if he can draw her well. Senpai is able to get some inspiration and is able to draw Nagatoro well. Nagatoro sneaks behind Senpai and is impressed by his work. She tells Senpai to close his eyes and accept his reward. And this time, instead of something mean like Senpai would expect, Nagatoro gives him a kiss on the cheek and runs away. Senpai wakes up in a fantasy land. He's about to be attacked by a monster when a girl named Nagatoro comes in to the rescue. Nagatoro notices how down Senpai is looking and offers to go on an adventure with him. They adventure for a bit, and as a reward for looking cool, Nagatoro gives Senpai a kiss on the cheek. They then head to the Demon Lord's castle where they notice the throne is empty. It appears that the Demon Lord isn't here, Senpai says. Oh, but the Demon Lord is here, and it is revealed that Nagatoro is the great Demon Lord, Nagatoro. The Demon Lord mocks Senpai for being so weak and easy to fool, calling him pathetic for falling in love with Nagatoro. She chains Senpai up and plans on making him her entertainment for eternity, when suddenly Senpai wakes up screaming. Luckily, it was just a dream. While hanging out in the art club room, Nagatoro realizes Senpai never talks back or defends himself from her. She suggests that Senpai should be the straight man in their relationship, meaning that he should be able to take a joke and dish it back. They try to practice a bit going back and forth, but it's not really working and Senpai is still trying to pump himself up and gain some confidence. So Nagatoro tries to poke and prod him more to get him to say something back. She starts talking about Senpai's hair, calling it fluffy like it's sheep, saying that he needs to be sheared and it's time to collect wool. But to Nagatoro's surprise, this seems to be a really weak spot for Senpai. She apologizes to Senpai, but can't help herself and doubles down. She wants Senpai to make a comeback. All of this is too much for Senpai, and he tells Nagatoro to shut up, hitting her in the chest with his arm. They both get embarrassed and Nagatoro jokes that it's the shoulder you hit, not the chest. The duo are overlooking a soccer match from their club room when Senpai gets a little jealous of the praise Nagatoro is giving to the athletes. Nagatoro questions Senpai if he wants to be praised himself, so she also questions him if he's complimented other people recently. Nagatoro states that people who never compliment others never receive compliments themselves, so as a practice she wants Senpai to try complimenting her. Senpai, a bit nervous, plays along and compliments Nagatoro's hair, but that's not enough, so he keeps going. He then compliments how nimble she is. Still not good enough, but getting warmer. Then Senpai thinks of a real genuine compliment. Senpai was amazed when he first met Nagatoro how well she moved when she punched and kicked the air. It was beautiful to him. This compliment lands its mark and embarrasses Nagatoro. So now it's her turn to compliment Senpai. She enjoys all the interesting faces he makes. Nagatoro then teases Senpai some more, when she starts to say a real compliment but stops herself. Senpai is at the school cafeteria, which is way out of the norm for him. He sees Nagatoro there with two of her friends. Now I'm gonna make things easier. We don't know the name of these two girls for ages, but for the ease of the video, the girl with the long hair is named Gamo, and the blonde with twin tails is named Yoshi. Senpai is nervous to sit at this table. He can feel the ominous energy, but he does so reluctantly, and Yoshi and Gamo both ask if Senpai is Nagatoro's boyfriend. Senpai quickly denies this, but Nagatoro interjects and says yes, in fact he is. Teasing and joking, of course. But Yoshi wants to tease Senpai more and grabs his hand, asking Senpai if he wants to go out with her too. This seems to strike a chord with Nagatoro, but they all continue on teasing Senpai. Gamo says that Senpai is more like a pet than a boyfriend. Nagatoro agrees and plays along, rubbing his head. Yoshi tries to do the same and Nagatoro stops her immediately, warning Yoshi that Senpai is gross, so don't touch him. Gamo, seeing this, tries to push Nagatoro further, now saying that Senpai is more like a slave instead of a pet. Nagatoro plays along again, slapping Senpai on the head, telling him to go to work. Yoshi goes to copy Nagatoro again, and is stopped immediately. Now with things going silent and starting to get awkward, Gamo keeps pushing the envelope, and now not calling Senpai even a man. That's enough, Nagatoro says. Now the two are angry in a standoff. Senpai nervously breaks the silence and lets the table know that in fact he is not Nagatoro's boyfriend. Senpai then goes silent again. Everyone laughs off how weird and funny Senpai is, and the tension dies down. Later, Yoshi and Gamo apologize to Senpai. Nagatoro wants Senpai to play the nipple poke game. Senpai is apprehensive at first, but the winner gets to have the other person do whatever they want, like wearing a swimsuit to model or even becoming a nude model. But Senpai just wants to use it to be left alone. So they start the game and Nagatoro will be poking Senpai first. She goes for what she is thinking is the bullseye zone, but Nagatoro is slightly off. That is until she starts teasing Senpai and starts to cheat, eventually landing her mark and winning not only the game, but the prize as well. Senpai is alone at the library and is trying to study, but he can't concentrate and ends up drawing more of his manga. But this time, instead of his typical characters he draws Nagatoro, Yoshi, and Gamo. He draws a scenario where Yoshi and Gamo are trying to form a party and take him away from Nagatoro, having Nagatoro defend Senpai from the duo. When we snap back to reality, Nagatoro enters the library, and Senpai gets flustered and tries to hide his drawing book from her, and he quickly leaves. But in a hurry, he accidentally leaves the book behind. Nagatoro gets her hands on it and is very pleased and embarrassed by the contents of the book. She then chases after Senpai to tease him about the book, which Senpai tries to deny that it's Nagatoro in those drawings. Nagatoro enters the classroom and Senpai notices immediately that she has an earring. She teases Senpai about getting an earring, but it's not like he could handle the pain of getting one anyway. On the other hand though, we could have a matching set of earrings, she says. But Nagatoro notices how scared Senpai is to get an earring, so she takes the earring piercer next to his ear and starts to tease him. Senpai gets flustered thinking about Nagatoro creating a hole in his body, when snap, he feels a pinch, but there's no earring. Turns out Nagatoro just pinched his ear to tease him even more. Nagatoro is teasing Senpai by tickling him, speculating that just by his looks, Senpai must be a sensitive person. Senpai replies that he's normal just like everyone else, but that's not enough for Nagatoro, and she puts that to the test. She tickles Senpai some more, and when she's done, Senpai asks if Nagatoro is ticklish or not. Nagatoro, being confident, presents herself to be tickled. But just as Senpai is about to do so, she backs out, claiming it was because of the way Senpai was staring at her. Nagatoro is making fun of how weak Senpai's arms are. She suggests that Senpai starts muscle training, but Senpai is not a fan of movement or working out. But if he could do it without having to move, he would be more than willing to do it. That gives Nagatoro an idea. Get on all fours, she says. He does so, and Nagatoro then uses him as a human chair, wanting Senpai to hold that position for at least 10 minutes. But while Senpai is struggling, Nagatoro can't help but push things further, now treating Senpai like he's a horse. That is until another student walks by and sees the two. After that, they both get embarrassed and Nagatoro gets off. Senpai notices that Nagatoro has an evil grin, so he asks her what's up. Nagatoro reveals that she's watching a sheep getting sheared. While watching the video together, Nagatoro gets an idea that Senpai needs a haircut. She pulls out a razor, which Senpai is adamantly against, so she switches to a comb and scissors. Senpai accepts Nagatoro's offer for a haircut if it's only a trim. But before Nagatoro starts, she notices the comb is chipped and goes looking for a new one. But then to his surprise, Yoshi and Gamo enter the room, discovering what they call Nagatoro and Senpai's secret love nest. They also discover the razor that was left there as well, giving the two a sinister idea to shave Senpai's head. They both start and try to do so. While Nagatoro is walking back, she overhears the commotion and rushes back to the room. We then cut back to Senpai spinning his hair so it can't be cut. I made a promise that Nagatoro could cut my hair, Senpai says. Nagatoro overhears this as she enters the room. Gamo and Yoshi turn around to see Nagatoro, giving them a menacing stare. They both run away. Now being alone again, Nagatoro gives Senpai his haircut. Senpai really enjoys it, and Nagatoro did a great job, and he thanks her for it. But Nagatoro still can't help but tease Senpai a little bit. The duo are caught in the middle of a storm and they both go undercover to wait it out. Nagatoro teases Senpai about being soaked, especially her shirt. Senpai thinks that she must be teasing because she's wearing a swimsuit. So Senpai goes to look, and to his surprise, she's wearing a bra, catching both of them off guard and embarrassing them both as well. Senpai apologizes and tries to explain himself, but Nagatoro takes it as a chance to get closer to him and teases Senpai, when they are both interrupted by the storm picking up even more so. As a result, Nagatoro suggests that they wait out the storm at her house, since it's nearby. They arrive at Nagatoro's house and Senpai thinks to himself what Nagatoro's parents must be like. But to his luck, it'll just be the two of them in the house. They dry off and Senpai is offered a shirt that Nagatoro's older brother used to wear. He's apprehensive at first but takes it so he doesn't catch a cold. Now being settled, the two are hanging out in Nagatoro's room. Nagatoro teases Senpai because it's his first time being in a girl's room. She asks what a boy would normally do in this situation. Senpai suggests studying, but that's too boring for Nagatoro, so she suggests that they play a game together. It's called Jazz Gear. I only mentioned the name of this game because it's a Guilty Gear reference, which is a fighting game series that I'm a big fan of, so props to the author on that one. They start playing and Senpai wins the first round, which makes Nagatoro mad. Second round starts, and as Senpai is winning, Nagatoro uses some teasing tactics to beat Senpai. They both continue this fun back and forth and play until the storm is over. They both share how much fun they had, and Nagatoro suggests that they play again sometime. Senpai is eating lunch alone in the art club room when he is interrupted, but not by who he thought it was. It's Yoshi and Gamo. They start teasing Senpai and asking him if he's ever touched a girl's chest before. He gets flustered and embarrassed, admitting he hasn't. The two push him more and ask if he wants to touch Gamo's chest. Senpai does not want to do this and he tries to run away, but Gamo and Yoshi capture him and they make him touch her anyway. But it turns out Senpai didn't touch her chest. Instead, he touched a pastry snack called anpan. They make fun of and mock Senpai with his reaction, like he would actually be able to touch girls like them. But Nagatoro comes in and interrupts the fun, and Gamo and Yoshi run away. But Nagatoro is annoyed at Senpai and has the situation all wrong. Senpai explains what happened and that relieves her, making her happy. She then tells Senpai to pinch her upper arm. He does so, and Nagatoro reveals that the upper arm is supposed to feel the same as a woman's chest. It's a hot day and Nagatoro knows a great spot for shaved ice, but it turns out everyone also knows this great spot now, thanks to a news report on the same spot. Not being deterred, Nagatoro is committed to wait in line for shaved ice, even though Senpai is just fine with convenience store ice cream. While waiting in line, some people behind the duo start staring at Nagatoro, so Senpai, being the gentleman he is, blocks them so they can't stare at her. As time progresses though, Senpai is getting worried that Nagatoro is going to overheat, so he grabs her hand and takes her to a vending machine to get some water. Senpai admits to Nagatoro that he was worried about her passing out. Nagatoro recovers and runs away. She then returns with some convenience store ice cream as a thanks. The two enjoy this moment together. It is now summer break and Senpai is thinking about what he's going to be up to, when Nagatoro sneaks up behind him and interrupts his thoughts, taking his drink and teasing him that he can't deny saving his first year from dying of thirst. Senpai wonders to himself if he'll have to deal with Nagatoro over summer break. Nagatoro breaks Senpai's train of thought again. This time, she asks to exchange Line contacts. For those who don't know, Line is the #1 messaging app in Japan. Not sponsored. Senpai gives it to Nagatoro but warns there's nothing fun about exchanging numbers with him. That's not true, Nagatoro says. Now I can send you an emoji every time you do something pervy. With that, she bids Senpai a farewell and leaves. Senpai goes to take a sip of his drink when he remembers Nagatoro drank from it, which means he would get an indirect kiss from her. Trust me, it's a Japan anime trope thing. Then Senpai gets a pervy cat emoji, and Nagatoro is observing Senpai directly behind him. Senpai is all alone in his room watching summertime TV, when he gets a call from Nagatoro and she wants him to go to the beach. He tries to refuse going because he'll get sunburned and stuff like that. But Nagatoro knows that Senpai has nothing else better to do anyway. Nagatoro ends up convincing Senpai and he meets up with her, and tagging along are Gamo and Yoshi. They make fun of Senpai along the way, calling him a wharf roach, and more like a loner wharf roach since he's always alone. They all arrive at the beach and start setting up camp. Gamo and Yoshi tease Senpai with their bathing suits, because they like to see his reaction. This causes Nagatoro to also show off, and the reaction she sees from Senpai seems to satisfy her as well. The girls then call Senpai to go swimming with them, but he refuses to go. The girls are having fun swimming, but Nagatoro can't help but focus on Senpai. She ends up going back to the shore to see what he is up to, and all he's really doing is just drawing. Nagatoro then asks if Senpai can swim, and Senpai says he can, but he's not very good at it. Plus, he doesn't want to get sunburned. Nagatoro reassures Senpai, telling him not to worry, since he brought sunscreen. Nagatoro then tries to put some sunscreen on Senpai, but before she can, Senpai exclaims, "That's something only couples do, and we're not a couple, right? Plus, if someone from school saw us, they would get the wrong idea." This makes Nagatoro mad and flips a switch in her. She pours tons of sunscreen on Senpai and starts using her feet to rub it in, becoming more rough with Senpai, while also enjoying this new dynamic as well. That is until Yoshi and Gamo join in, and now all three of the girls are standing on Senpai. Nagatoro warns everyone that they might break him. Senpai yells at everybody to get off, and they do so. They also end up using the whole bottle of sunscreen. Now being all lathered up, they convince Senpai to go swimming, and he does. They all end up having a fun time, and there's a little montage of them doing classic summer things. Near the end of the day, Senpai gets a stroke of artistic inspiration and is able to draw Nagatoro. Now at home, Senpai and Nagatoro talk about how much fun they had, and maybe going on summer vacation isn't bad every once in a while. I'm going to breeze through these mini chapters. It's a celebration of the end of a volume. I'll explain them real quick while they slide by. Nagatoro hula hoops around Senpai and accidentally exposes herself a little bit. Senpai has no motivation to draw, so Nagatoro changes into a cheerleading outfit and cheers him on. Finally, Nagatoro is bullying Senpai when they are interrupted by Yoshi and Gamo. The two ask Senpai if he would rather hang out with them instead of Nagatoro, and he agrees and leaves her. But then we see it was just a bad dream, and Senpai covered Nagatoro in a blanket so she didn't catch a cold. This causes her to praise Senpai, at least for a little bit. Also real quick, I hope you guys are enjoying the video. Please like and subscribe and let me know you made it this far. Comment down below your favorite chapter or interaction so far. Now back to the video. Today is the day of the summer festival. Senpai imagines how Nagatoro will look in a yukata. Also how she would be acting if she invited him. Senpai then heads home and kinda putzes around waiting for a call from Nagatoro, but he never gets one. He thinks to himself that maybe he should invite her, but he can't muster up the courage to do so. But despite this, Senpai goes to the festival anyway, looking for Nagatoro in the process. Senpai gets a tap on his shoulder, and when he turns around he sees Gamo and Yoshi. They start to make fun of Senpai because it's out of character for him to be here. Perhaps is it because he wanted to run into Nagatoro? Well, too bad, she's practicing or something at school. Hearing this, Senpai tries to run away, but the duo end up trapping Senpai with a collar and leash they won at the festival. We then cut to Nagatoro ending her school activities. She's asked by one of the girls if she plans on going to the festival. She thinks to herself whether she will or not. That is until she is interrupted and receives a text and sees a picture of Yoshi and Gamo with Senpai. Gamo lets Senpai know that she sent a picture to Nagatoro, but Senpai isn't convinced that she'll come. When almost immediately, Nagatoro shows up in a sprint. Nagatoro sees that Senpai is in a collar and it looks like fun to her. She goes to reach and take Senpai when Gamo pulls Senpai away and reveals that if Nagatoro wants Senpai, she'll have to fight them for it. It'll be a 2-on-2 to see who can win Senpai. Yoshi and Gamo are on one team and Senpai and Nagatoro are on the other. While playing some games, Nagatoro comments to Senpai that it is very out of character for him to be here. Is it perhaps that he was waiting to be invited by her? Senpai tries to deny it, but it's obvious. Nagatoro then shares that if there's a place Senpai wants to go with someone, he could have just asked or invited them himself. The squad then plays some more festival games in a little montage. They all compare their prizes, and Nagatoro uses Yoshi's love for a squid plushie to win the game and reclaim Senpai as her prize. Gamo and Yoshi then leave, leaving Senpai and Nagatoro alone together. Senpai suggests that since they are here, they should just walk around a bit and enjoy the festival. While the duo are walking around and enjoying the festivities, Nagatoro tells Senpai it starts to feel like a date. Just kidding, she says. She's just playing pretend and giving Senpai a pity date. But since it's practice, they can practice holding hands together. But before that happens, the fireworks start to go off. Nagatoro rushes them to find a good spot for the fireworks. On the way, she asks if Senpai has ever seen fireworks, with how he's acting. Senpai reveals that the last time he saw fireworks was when he was in primary school. They arrive at the line, but it's way too long. Senpai then remembers a great spot to look at fireworks. He starts walking away, expecting Nagatoro to follow him, when he turns around to see and Nagatoro is getting lost in the crowd. So he grabs her hand and leads her to the spot. They start watching the fireworks and Nagatoro is impressed with Senpai. But not wanting this moment to be too sappy, Nagatoro can't help but tease Senpai, commenting on how it looks dragging a girl into a dark spot to do who knows what with her. This starts to make Senpai embarrassed, but he gets the idea to try and tease Nagatoro a bit, asking her what type of stuff do you mean, for her to be more specific. This flusters her a bit and she specifies that people kiss each other in these types of situations. But Nagatoro states, there's no way you could do that anyway, and Senpai responds, oh yeah, and you could kiss someone right now? I totally could, Nagatoro says. When suddenly they are both interrupted by fireworks, where they see in the light of the fireworks, tons of couples making out with each other. The two then sit in silence enjoying the fireworks. It is the end of the first day of the new semester. Senpai is walking home when he overhears a familiar voice. He sees Nagatoro and her friends talking. Also, just to make things easier, this girl is named Sakura, but like Gomo and Yoshi, her name won't be revealed for a while. Senpai thinks to himself how different he really is from the group of girls. It's hard for him to approach them. They live in totally different worlds. When suddenly a group of guys approach Nagatoro and the girls. Senpai thinks that these guys are more suited to hang out with them instead of him. Senpai then notices that Nagatoro doesn't seem to be interested in them, and the guys are getting a little pushy. But then one of the guys spots Senpai, and things are starting to get awkward. Gamo and Yoshi call out to Senpai, asking him what's up and why he's just standing over there. One of the guys asks if Senpai needs anything, and Senpai builds up enough courage and says to Nagatoro, let's go home. The guys start to make fun of Senpai, when Nagatoro responds back, let's go home, Senpai, standing up with a smile. The rest of Nagatoro's squad follows suit, and they all walk home together with Senpai. Senpai gets to fully meet Sakura, who only really knows him as Manga Senpai, since he draws lewd manga. Nagatoro makes a joke that he's Ero Manga Sensei, which is a reference to an actual manga/anime series. And Senpai thinks to himself, I really am out of place. But nobody seems to mind, even him. Nagatoro is bored and she wants to shadowbox with Senpai. She starts messing around and out of instinct, Senpai clenches Nagatoro. We then cut to Nagatoro telling the squad about it, and that gives them the idea that they want to spar with Senpai as well, and tries to warn him of the approaching danger, offering to hold them off as long as she can while Senpai runs. Nagatoro and the girls are watching Senpai fail at a marathon run. Later on, Nagatoro confronts Senpai, asking him what his deal is. Senpai replies that he's just not good at it. People have different talents and his is just drawing. Nagatoro tries to encourage Senpai that he'll never know unless he tries. But Senpai isn't having it. So Nagatoro gets fired up and is going to give Senpai special training, going full-on sports manga. The next day, Senpai meets up with Nagatoro and sees her in a jogging outfit. They start running and Senpai can't help but stare and get embarrassed at Nagatoro's outfit. So he starts sprinting ahead. They go back and forth like this for a bit, until the halfway point. Senpai is ready to give up. Nagatoro calls him trash, a disappointment, and a maggot, making fun of him the whole time. This fires up Senpai, and he puts in more effort, much to Nagatoro's delight. Senpai is helping Sakura clean up, and ends up meeting up with Gamo and Yoshi, who are also there as well. Senpai ends up getting a splinter and Sakura teases him. The trio then drags Senpai into a room and Nagatoro sees it. Nagatoro starts to eavesdrop and hears some pretty spicy stuff going on in the next room. After hearing enough, Nagatoro bursts into the room to see the crew holding down Senpai in order to remove the splinter. Nagatoro then quickly walks up and grabs the pliers and removes the splinter herself, getting a standing ovation as a result. Nagatoro and Senpai are walking home together. To make things more exciting, Nagatoro suggests a game of rock, paper, scissors. Loser has to carry the other's luggage until the next stop. Senpai, by sheer fear and luck, wins the first round by flinching and throwing a rock. Nagatoro begrudgingly carries the luggage until the next stop, chastising Senpai for making a girl carry his luggage. The next round starts and Nagatoro wins, making fun of Senpai the whole way until the final stop. Now it's for all the marbles. Nagatoro wins, but Senpai doesn't have to carry any luggage, much to his surprise. This time, Senpai has to carry Nagatoro. Senpai's face is getting red, and Nagatoro is making fun of him the whole time, even mocking his responses to her questions. Senpai thinks to himself that carrying all this stuff is heavy, but he can handle it. What he can't handle is how sweaty his hands are getting. He's losing his grip on Nagatoro, causing his hands to slide across her thighs. As a result, Nagatoro quickly gets off and runs away. Nagatoro is commenting on Senpai's art. To her, it's the same boring and safe thing he always does. So she encourages Senpai to live life on the edge and take some risk. Senpai is curious what she means by this. So Nagatoro gives an example that Senpai buys and drinks the same juice every day. So next time he should buy the mysterious flavor. But Senpai can't help but notice that Nagatoro bought the same drink he has. But for Nagatoro, she doesn't normally buy this drink, so that's enough adventure for her. Later on, as he's drawing and goes to reach for his drink, he notices that both drinks are there. He doesn't know which one is which. And to his horror, Nagatoro is behind him watching to see which drink he chooses. Senpai tries to read her face to figure it out, but Nagatoro has a poker face, so no dice for Senpai. But Senpai comes to the conclusion that Nagatoro has no idea which drink is which either. So Senpai decides to embrace the spirit of adventure and go for a drink, even if it means it's an indirect kiss. But even though they are both embarrassed, neither of them really have any idea, so all the fuss is kind of ambiguous. Senpai has just finished an intense PE class and is looking forward to relaxing in his club, when to his horror, Nagatoro and the gang have invaded his Eden. Senpai inquires about their presence being here, and they reveal that normally they all hang out in the cafeteria, but a new group has been super noisy and annoying, so as a result they have sent an assassin, which is Sakura, to dismantle the group from within. In a week, things should return back to normal. Gamo makes a joke that the assassin wouldn't work on Senpai, since he's a herbivore, basically meaning Senpai isn't interested in marrying or getting a girlfriend. Nagatoro tries to defend Senpai by calling him a closet pervert. The two start arguing about Senpai and if he has urges or not. Nagatoro decides to make a bet with Gamo. Somewhere in this room, Senpai has a lewd book. Whoever finds it gives the other pudding. The bet is on and they all start looking for this book. Senpai does in fact have a lewd book, but he has hidden it in another room. Just as it looks like Nagatoro is losing, Senpai can't help but see how sad she is. So he decides to leave the room and grab the book, and plant it so Nagatoro can see it. Thus he ends up destroying himself by saving Nagatoro. Money is tight for Senpai this month, so he ends up making a bento for himself, which is basically just a box lunch. Nagatoro makes fun of him because Senpai rushed and did an awful job. The next day, Nagatoro is making fun of Senpai's bento, but to her and the squad's shock, Senpai made an amazing looking bento. But that must be too good to be true. So Yoshi and Gamo take a bite of fried chicken and it turns out it's amazing. Nagatoro gets jealous and doesn't want to try any of the food Senpai made. But it's time for lunch anyway, so she pulls out her bento. Gamo reveals that Nagatoro made her own bento and Senpai should make a swap. Nagatoro tries to play it cool, but it's obvious she wants to trade. Senpai does too. So he says his food might be too spicy since he followed a random recipe online. So they switch and it's revealed Nagatoro's food is spicy as well. And Nagatoro tries Senpai's fried chicken and it's amazing to her as well. Sakura comes in looking for help from Senpai. She was messing with that group of guys and now has a stalker. So she asks Senpai for his help by having him pretend to be her boyfriend. Senpai is hesitant, but Gamo convinces Sakura that she has nothing to worry about since Senpai is passive. Nagatoro tries to hide her jealousy, suggesting that Senpai would just turn into another stalker. Senpai, despite the protest from Nagatoro, agrees to help Sakura anyway. So now Senpai meets up with Sakura and they start to have their proper date, with Nagatoro, Gamo, and Yoshi tailing behind. Gamo makes fun of Nagatoro for being mad and jealous. Sakura asks Senpai if there's any girl he wants to go out on a date with. Senpai tries to deny that there is any girl that he wants to go out with, but Sakura knows. They both start looking for the stalker when suddenly they hear screaming and see that Nagatoro has apprehended the stalker immediately, much to everyone's surprise. Nagatoro then makes fun of Senpai since his date is ruined and that was his last chance to be with a woman. And it's also way too soon for him to start dating anyway. Senpai agrees that she might be right, causing Nagatoro to blush in embarrassment. It's midterms and Senpai hasn't studied for the test at all. A new game came out and he focused all his attention on that instead. Nagatoro tells Senpai he needs to focus more and study, otherwise he will repeat the school year again. Senpai doesn't mind this, since he can enjoy the club room some more, but Nagatoro reveals something horrible. No longer will he be her senpai, they will be classmates, they will be equal. Nagatoro then goes through different scenarios that would happen as a result. But Senpai, to Nagatoro's surprise, says that he wouldn't mind repeating a year. It wouldn't be boring as long as it was with her. Nagatoro calls Senpai gross and a few days later, the midterm test comes back, and Senpai got good scores. Riding the tail of midterms, Nagatoro and crew are making jokes about Senpai being held back. They think of different scenarios where they become the senpai, and Senpai is the first year or kohai. They would abuse their power and treat him like a slave basically. But then out of the corner of his eye, Senpai sees Sakura and she tells him not to worry. She reveals that except for Nagatoro, the rest of the crew are getting extra study lessons since they had poor grades, showing that they are more likely to repeat this year instead of him. Senpai, gaining some confidence, comments that Gamo and Yoshi should study more, which gives Gamo and Yoshi the idea for Senpai to teach them. We are now in the cultural festival arc. Senpai is trying to decide what he should do for a model in order to enter something in for an art piece. Senpai thinks to himself if it comes to it, he'll just ask the club president for advice. Nagatoro overhears this and offers herself as a model, as long as Senpai begs for it, of course. Senpai says he's good, he's just going to draw a guy this year instead of a girl, revealing that it's harder for him to draw a girl than it is a guy. But Nagatoro says that's actually not a problem for Senpai. She reminds him by showing Senpai all of the manga drawings he made, with her being Nagatoro. So reluctantly, Senpai agrees to draw Nagatoro, but on one condition: she has to wear the Nagatoro outfit. Senpai is now betting on the folding screen strategy, where he bluffs his way to victory. Senpai jokes to Nagatoro that he can't force her to wear it, and he can always use photos as a reference. A week passes, and Senpai is waiting for Nagatoro to show up, thinking to himself that maybe he was too mean to her. But to his shock, Nagatoro is wearing the outfit. She got the sewing club to make it for her. Being embarrassed, she wants Senpai to say something. He first says the outfit was well made, but Nagatoro is looking for a compliment for herself. So Senpai then says, "The outfit suits you." This causes Nagatoro to literally lash out due to embarrassment. Now the squad is talking about what each of them are going to do for the school festival. Nagatoro is participating in a yakisoba stand for her swim club. Gamo and Yoshi are making a haunted clubhouse, and Sakura is going to help out the gaming club, the same guys from the cafeteria that were too noisy. Turns out the gaming group treats Sakura pretty nice. So everyone asks Senpai what he's going to be up to, and Senpai has memories of when he first joined the art club, working super hard to set up the first art exhibit, thinking to himself how cool the art club president is. But unfortunately, all the members were second years and they had to go to cram school, so the art club president left the club to Senpai. But Senpai was just staring off into space and was brought back to reality. They ask Senpai again what he has planned, and he says the same thing as last year, which is boring to everyone there. So they start coming up with suggestions: whack-a-mole with Senpai, a kitty cat cafe, or a cross-dressing cafe. When all of a sudden Senpai hears footsteps and recognizes them immediately. He asks everyone to leave the room for a second. Then the club president enters the room. Senpai questions the club president on why she's here. She responds it's a bit of an odd question considering I'm the art club president. She tells Senpai she's here because she's been thinking of doing something for the club festival. Senpai asks if they are planning on doing an art display again, but she responds it's not my decision, I left the club in your hands. So Senpai makes the decision to do an art exhibit and asks if the president can make a piece for it as well. The president agrees, but she has one more thing she needs to talk to Senpai about. She's been hearing rumors that the art club has become a hangout for a bunch of good-for-nothings, that the art club has turned into a playground. The president starts scolding Senpai, as Nagatoro and the gang overhear this as well. The president states that she was warned by the student council, so she wanted to see things for herself. The president pulls out one of Senpai's drawing and mocks him. Is this the manga research club or the art club? If you don't feel like drawing art, then you can just leave. In fact, I was thinking about disbanding the art club altogether. Before Senpai can say anything, the president is about to sign the papers, when out of nowhere Nagatoro returns and asks the president to wait. You're being too selfish. You left the club to Senpai so he can run it however he wants. Isn't it unreasonable to act this way? You left the club and now you just waltz back in. The president replies, if my club members have no motivation, then the club doesn't need to continue. Nagatoro scolds the president. Who are you to say that? Every day all by himself, Senpai is always drawing, always working his hardest. Seeing this gives the president an idea. Since everyone is being so defiant, Senpai will enter separately into the art festival and go against her art exhibit. There will be a voting poll, and whoever wins will decide the fate of the art club. If the president wins, the club disbands, and if Senpai wins, the club is saved. Senpai is apprehensive and nervous, but Nagatoro puts her hand on Senpai's shoulder and accepts the terms. Well, there you guys have it. That is part 1 out of 4 for my Nagatoro series. Tune in next time to see what happens. Will Nagatoro and Senpai be able to beat the art club president? Or will they succumb to the president and her tactics? What other interesting things will happen as Nagatoro and Senpai get closer together? Let me know down below what you guys think and if you like this type of content and want to see more. In the meantime, while you wait for the next part, check out my previous video on the manga series How to Treat a Lady Knight Right. Links to all my content down below in the description. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you don't miss the next episode when it comes out. Please like and subscribe as well, and again, thank you for watching. I've been Boogdagoob. Peace.